Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to keep this one short and sweet because I don't feel like I need to drudge on with this one. But we're going to talk about toxic masculinity, okay? Toxic masculinity is not what you will see a lot of on the internet. It's not this whole thing that the internet has painted as toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity is there's a lot to it, but it's not simply being a man. It's not a man trying to fix an issue or even like trying to provide. That's not toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity, the best picture I can paint for you, that is someone who comes into a room looking like he's going to hurt people. And when I say a room, I'm not talking a jail cell. I'm talking he's going out for lunch. He walks in and he looks like he's there to hurt somebody. That's toxic masculinity, which isn't super common that in my experience. Like it's absolutely a thing, but I don't see that a whole lot. Masculinity, generally, to me, the idea is talk quiet and carry a big stick. Okay? What that means is be reserved, be a gentle person, be nice to people, help where you can, do what you can for your people. And when it comes to it, if a threat arises, that's when the big stick comes into play. Okay? That's where the protection that I think most men naturally have, the sense of I need to protect, that's where that comes in. Toxic masculinity does not look like that. Toxic masculinity is somebody who abuses the quote unquote power that they have for being a man. Some men know how to look intimidating, and they will use that to their advantage, or they will talk to people in a very shitty way for no reason, or maybe they're just simply a douchebag. That is an example of toxic masculinity. Somebody who has no qualms or quarrels about treating people in a negative way simply because he's a man and thinks he can get away with it. I would even venture to say that toxic masculinity is the lack of masculinity. There is no sense of protection. There is no sort of drive to I don't necessarily, yeah, provide is the right word, because providing isn't necessarily financial. Um there's a whole lot of things that go in that umbrella, and I do not care to go through all of that today, but those are just some examples. Okay, like I saw a video, I talked about it in my how to motivate the workless video, but there was one, I got reminded of it again. There's this one dude is sat down at a table, and his girlfriend or wife or something, I don't know, comes up to him and tells him, "Hey, I can't afford to pay rent this month." Meanwhile, this was a test. She just wanted to see, I think she just wanted to see what he would say. And he said, "Well, can't you work some overtime over the weekends or something?" And there was no mention of him trying to go to work and do the thing to be a teammate. Matter of fact, in that video, he says, "I don't want to have to go back to work." That to me is a sense of toxic masculinity, because that is a lack thereof. That's not how that works. If I am if I'm living with my person and she comes up to me and she's like, "We need to figure something out for bills this month because of whatever happened." Okay, let's figure it out. We can make something happen. It's not hard to go and pick up a second job for, a little while. it really sucks and puts a strain on the relationship, but in order for the two of you to survive, sometimes that's what needs to be done. But, you know, stuff like that, that's toxic masculinity, or again, abusing the quote unquote power that men have. And I say quote unquote because I don't really believe any of us have power, men or women. I don't truly believe that any of us have power. I think people know how to get into people's heads. I know that people will act the whatever way that they are going to act without any regard to how it makes someone else feel. That to me is not power. Some people just straight up take advantage of other people, and that is their definition of power. I don't view it that way. In terms of where the big stick comes in, a masculine man, while may not go looking for a fight, will be prepared for one. If I'm by myself, I generally don't worry about it, because I try to stay out of the way. I don't bother nobody. But if I am with a family member, a friend, or my person, then I become very spatially aware very quickly. I don't know what it is. I've got no idea. But it's like a switch flips, and I'm sitting where I can see the exits. I'm looking around, making sure there's nobody following us. Like, I will do whatever it is. I will make her walk on the inside of the sidewalk, away from the road, because I don't know. I'm a paranoid thinker. Masculinity does not involve avoiding emotions. While I understand that there are times and places to get emotions out, or, you know, allow yourself to feel the emotions, I don't think that avoiding those emotions is a masculine trait. I don't think that's a smart thing to do. I don't think that's a healthy thing to do by any means. Being connected with yourself emotionally is not a feminine trait. While women usually have that easier, it's not a feminine thing. That is a human thing. We need to know ourselves, and we need to know how exactly it is we're feeling and why we feel a certain way, and how to get that out in a constructive way. Avoiding that and suppressing it, I don't view that as a masculine thing. I think that is the opposite of that, because that leads to destructive patterns. Toxic masculinity, for the most part, is not what we see painted on the internet, because a lot of it is just men being men, you know, and that meaning we're being fixers, or we're trying to do something to provide. Again, provision is not necessarily financial, but it's one of those things. Masculinity for me is like having manners. Let me open the door for you. I've never gotten this before. I've never had this happen, but I open the door for people, or I hold the door open for people, and I've never heard anything bad about it. People either say thank you, or they just move on with their day, and I'm okay with either one of those. But I have heard that some men have gotten, well, why would you open the door for me? I'm perfectly capable. Yeah, I'm sure you are. It's just a matter of being, it's a matter of having respect for other people, and using my manners, you know? That's not one of those things where men are trying to take something away from women, like, oh, we have to do this for you because you can't do it yourself. It's just manners. It's doing something decent. Toxic masculinity is not doing any of those things, like opening the door, or there's a shit ton of examples that I can't think of right now, but like stuff like that, you know, that toxic masculinity is not. You know who's a great example of toxic masculinity? Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is a really good example of what not to be, because he has this certain attitude, like he's above and beyond absolutely everybody around him, right? And in certain aspects, he might really excel in this area or that area. Cool. I don't think that makes you better than anybody. You might be better than somebody at a certain skill or something like that. Okay, cool. I don't think that makes you higher above someone else. You know what I mean? That's a great example of what not to be. I don't know this dude's name, but there was another video that I saw. This is where I got this idea from. He says on some sort of podcast, I don't know what the podcast is, but he says that he is respected or whatever it is because he walks into whatever place looking like he's going to hurt people. People that I know and have known for a long time, or people that I have met in passing who really can and have no problem with hurting people, they do not go out of their way to do it. They are the people who, in an if I have to situation, that's when they will get into something like that. But that is not somebody who goes around, that none of those people that I've ever known who really can do something like that have ever just walked into anywhere and looked like they were there to hurt somebody. That to me is a joke. That's really dumb. Because what is that going to get you? You know? Funny looks. Oh, just stay away from that guy. You know, like, it's just, that's a joke to me. So, yeah, that's all I have for that one. Toxic masculinity is not generally what we have painted it to be on the internet. It's very different. It's very, very different. Masculinity is it's a very specific sort of thing, and it being toxic requires abuse thereof or lack of care. There's not a whole lot of real toxic masculinity outside of the lack thereof, or I'm going to use my power to get what I want because I'm a man. You know what I mean? At least not that I can think of right now, but it's just not what we've painted it to be. That's all I have for that one. I will see you in the next one.